Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ecology Unit continuation. If you remember working on your Protect Our Planet document, you were trying to make a pitch to the president to try to get him to save the world by knowing when a volcano was going to erupt. However, you were realizing that he wasn't paying much attention to you and you had a lot of work to do to convince him. So the problem was that you did not actually finish your presentation. So that volcano that we were talking about underneath the Los Angeles Hollywood Hills did actually eventually erupt because we weren't able to get everybody out of the way. We were not safe from harm's way. And as you can see, the buildings were exploding and things were on fire and the ground was shaking and erupting underneath us. And a volcano about the same size as Mount St. Helens started to grow underneath our very feet. The people were running around and screaming, and people were trying to fight off the lava to no avail. And the eruptions were happening all throughout the streets of Los Angeles, causing massive amounts of damage, and it was a horrific experience. A volcano the size of Mount St. Helens eventually did end up growing right in the middle of the city, destroying pretty much everything around us, leaving us with nothing but ash and dust. People had to evacuate the area. The trees, as you can see in the hillsides, were all completely destroyed, and we were left with practically nothing except for a few small splotches of grass and green. The once beautiful and magnificent California was no longer. All we had left was dust and ash, and people and animals alike were competing for resources, which brings us to our ecology unit. The last time we were looking at ecology about a week and a half ago, you might have remembered a couple of terms, abiotic and biotic. So the ecology of the land isn't just about the things that are alive around us. One of the big things that we need to look at is all resources, which could mean any necessity of life, such as water, nutrients, light, food, or space that we require for survival. And not just we, but any living thing around us. They can be broken into two different parts, abiotic. And if you put the letter A in front of a word, it tends to mean not. Bio means life. So abio means not life. So abiotic resources would be like non-living parts of the ecosystem, which could be air, rocks, water, even dirt, things like that. Biotic is the stuff that we probably all tend to picture. If I were to say, hey, describe your ecosystem or the ecology of your land, you're initially going to start listing things like grasses and plants and animals and the birds and the bees that follow along. So what we need to be able to do after our little eruption is to regrow the ecology around us starting from scratch. So if we had nothing but this one busted little house and some ash and probably poisonous gases in the air, we need to first focus on the biotic and abiotic resources. So if I look at the abiotic first, you'll notice that we need fresh air. We need to be able to breathe. We need to be able to take in oxygen. So we've got to get the poisonous gases out of the air. We're going to need to rebuild soil because we can't just grow things in ash. Ash is essentially just broken down rocks and bits of igneous rock and lava. So we're also going to need sunshine. As you remember from the photosynthesis unit, you're going to have sunshine in order to be able to grow the things that we need to eat. We're going to obviously need fresh water supply. So we've got to find somewhere to be able to get some fresh water to our area. Then we can start looking at the biotic resources. And these little buggers right here are the most important part of regrowing an ecosystem because they're going to help break down things in the soil to create the nutrients needed to be able to get our seeds up and running. So once we have decent soil and water and air and access to sunshine, we can start planting seeds and starting to grow crops that we might be able to eat. Now, once those crops start to grow, they will start to bring in flowers, which will bring in the bees. And so now we're starting to see all these relationships between different plants and animals and ourselves, all within this community of an ecosystem that we're looking at. So what is this called? This is going to be called our ecosystem. So an ecosystem is a biological community of interacting organisms and their physical environment. So if you can, pause the video for a second and think to yourself, what is your ecosystem? Think of all the birds and the bees and the animals and the plants and the air source and maybe the quality of the air around you. What does your ecosystem look like? Pause the video for a second and just think it through. Okay, so that's where we're actually going to stop for now. I do have another video for you. It's a little bit more interactive as we start to launch 3B. So take a look at that one, and that one is on an Edpuzzle, which means it's gonna have some questions for you to answer throughout. All right, cool. Miss everybody, wish I could see you, but we're just gonna have to make this work. All right, thank you.